Good morning. Nice day today. We got a nice hard rain last night. Kind of a surprise. Washed everything off real clean. I just gonna make a quick video. I was looking at Twitter this morning. There was an article about Maharishi University down in Fairfield, or up in Fairfield, Iowa. And I actually lived there for 2 years. I did the Transcendental Meditation program. I did TM for a long time, and I went up there right after I got out of the Air Force. I went to Maharishi International University, and I spent 2 years working on staff for the CITIES program, which is an advanced meditation technique. And my experience was, I would say, 90% positive. I mean, it was kind of one of those things. It's like being in the military. It's kind of what you make it. And I didn't have any grandiose expectations or anything, but this article talked about a lot of different things, and there's some. I'll try to link it. It's kind of interesting, but I thought it was interesting segue into talking about what we call a cult. What is a cult? It's so funny when you read these articles and they're basically, saying, oh, it's a cult, TM is a cult, Maharishi's a cult, all this stuff. I don't see it that way. There is a system in place. Transcendental meditation is a meditation system, and it I think some of Maharishi's claims are a little bit over the top. They claim, you're going to get enlightenment and you're going to get all these things, and there is a lot of one of the people in the article said something about a carrot on a stick kind of thing. And I agree, there is. And the people who are really into the movement, I mean, they pretty much just sacrifice everything. They live very cheap. And I mean, the people that worked on staff, they got what was called a stipend. They would get, you get like $60 a month or $70 a month. I mean, it was hardly anything. It was barely enough. And, you got room and board and you got food and everything, but it wasn't enough to make any savings or anything like that. But it was what it was. You could take it or leave it, right? I mean, it's a free country. At the end of the day, it's a free country. So people who say, oh, I was in a cult and I was, the TM stuff, they can call it what they want, but I wouldn't call it a cult. It's no more a cult than a lot of these religions that you hear about. You hear about Jehovah's Witnesses, and you hear about Scientology, and you hear about a lot of bad things going on within those groups. So anyway, my experience wasn't negative. I would actually say it was positive, and I only regret that I didn't learn, heartfulness sooner. And, but I don't regret doing TM. I think it was part of my path, part of my evolution as a person. And it brought me to a different side of spirituality that I never would have gotten through traditional religious, teachings. And, it gave me a lot of alternative ideas, and I see that as a positive. And, but that being said, it's kind of like, that's probably the reason I don't, I'm not leaning too hard into heartfulness. I'm doing the practice, and I'm just kind of staying on my own. I do the cleaning meditations with the what do they call them? Preceptor or whatever. I'm doing those pretty regular. I'd say at least once a month, twice a month. And I do those over my phone. We just contact each other with a WhatsApp app, and if I want to get a cleaning, I just text and see if he's available. So it's real low key, and I'm not like in a group of people where I have to feel like I've got to fit in. And one of the things with TM is, Maharishi, I never once heard Maharishi ever in any of his talks, and we listened to a lot of talks of Maharishi. Never heard Maharishi ever one time say, oh, you've got to be a vegetarian and you have to do, you have to do all this and you have to do all that. He never said that. He never said any of that. Maharishi would say basically meditate twice a day and then just live your life. And what happened is, I think the movement got co-opted by a more hardline group. And it makes kind of sense because, I've heard people talk about there was basically two different factions within the Maharishi camp back when they were getting started, and the one faction was all, peace and love, and everybody just kind of do their thing, and we'll teach meditation, but it's going to be real low key, and it's not going to be very structured. It's not going to be a real structured thing. And then there was another group, and who's to say which side Maharishi, ultimately, I guess, the decisions came down to him. I don't know personally, but the more hardline camp came to be the ones running the show, and they were more like, okay, you need to, stay on this. They called it the program. So in other words, the program meant, you get enough sleep, you don't, you're not out partying, you're taking care of yourself. That's what the program was. It wasn't like you were, being whipped or anything like that. It was just self-care, basic self-care, take care of yourself, treat yourself good, and stay away from drugs and alcohol. And that was one thing with the TM movement that was positive to me, was the fact that, they didn't advocate drugs and alcohol. And I never once saw someone say, oh, you shouldn't take medication. That's not Ayurvedic or whatever. I mean, I don't know. That was not my experience, but maybe things changed. But anyway, a more hardline group took control, evidently, because they were more structured and more disciplined and more. And I think that's why Maharishi had so much success. I think if they had taken the other path, it wouldn't have been very successful. I mean, ultimately, people need guidance. They need structure. I mean, they're like little children, And so very few people are really willing to step up and do the work themselves. And what's great about heartfulness for me, and I'm just talking about me personally, I don't know about everybody else. For me, it's been good because I have the reference of the Transcendental Meditation, and I have that as my reference point for meditation. And heartfulness is nothing like that to me. But then, when I did TM, I was doing it out of joy. I was doing it out of, I felt like it was a good thing for me. It gave me kind of a program to follow, meditate twice a day and try to, be the best person I could be. That's how I interpreted it all. And yeah, they get kind of heavy-handed with a lot of this stuff later if you get more into it, because they start introducing different things that will maybe accelerate your growth, And that's where these people come up with this carrot on the stick stuff, because there's always something more you can do. They have like, well, let me just explain TM first. So Transcendental Meditation is a mantra meditation, and you go to a teacher, and the teacher picks the mantra for you. Now, again, this costs money. Transcendental Meditation was quite expensive even when I learned. I think it was $400 cash that I paid when I learned, and that was in 1993. So that's a lot of money back in 1993. I mean, I don't think I made $800 a month in the Air Force, but of course I had room and board, but it was quite a lot of money. And then the TM Cities program, which is an advanced technique. So the mantra meditation is, you say this mantra over and over in your mind, and Maharishi called it as a vehicle. So it was a vehicle for the mind. It was something for the mind to attach to, so that it could dive into this state of, kind of like a state of super consciousness. They call it transcendental consciousness, or a different state of consciousness, and it does work. I mean, I definitely experienced doing the meditation, and over time you become more clear. You experience a higher, you experience a more expanded state of consciousness, no doubt about that. So anyway, so then the TM City program is an advanced technique, and you would meditate for a longer amount of time, and then you would do this advanced meditation. So you do like a 40-minute meditation, and then you do a 40-minute cities program, they call it. And the cities are words or little phrases that you say in your mind. So you get to this state of consciousness where your mind is more clear. You're in this more clarified state of consciousness, and you say these word phrases in your mind. And cities means powers. So each city was different. There was cities for super strength. There was cities for, there's like, I don't even remember how many there are. There's like 10 or 15 of them. And you say them repetitively. So you say each city 3 or 4 times, depending on how much time you had. If you had a short practice, you'd say them twice. If you had a long practice, you'd say them 4 times. And then the capstone of the whole thing was the flying sutra. So you would say a sutra, a word phrase, and this word phrase was the flying sutra. And so it would make your body feel more light, and you might kind of popcorn around. And they had, when you meditated in the TM, they had these mats that you would sit on, these little padded mats, so you could kind of bounce around, and it was fun. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was cool. It's very cool, and there is some legitimacy. I mean, I think there's a lot of legitimacy to it. Okay, so what my point of this is, it's kind of like, you get what you give, and I think people who get disillusioned, they maybe just haven't moved on when it was time for them to move on. But anyway, I stayed at MIU for 2 years, and it was I got to a point where I had done the cities, so I went and did the cities program, and that was a really cool experience. And we went to Washington, D.C., and Marishi was putting together these things called groups for government. And the group for government was where you get a certain amount of meditators together, and they call it the Maharishi effect. So this is something you could look up. They did tons of research, tons of scientific papers on it. They did data analysis on crime and violence and all these other things at the time that we were doing this program. And what they found was that indeed crime and all these things went down when you had people in this state of coherence. So when your mind goes to that subtle level of consciousness, that more expanded level of consciousness, it creates coherence. They talk about coherence all the time. And it would cause, I guess, a ripple effect in the environment where, people were less violent, there was less harm, there was, less murders, all this stuff. And they legitimately, verified that statistically. And anyway, so it was cool to be part of that. And I came back to MIU, and I worked on staff in the men's clinic. So they did Ayurvedic treatments, which is like it's basically, they were kind of massage treatments, but they were more purification things, more leaning towards purification. Like the people, before they did the program, they would, do like a fasting, cleansing type of a diet, kind of a strict diet for about 3 or 4 days just to clean their system out. And it was great. I mean, Ayurveda is very interesting and very powerful as a cleaning tool and everything else. But so anyway, so I did that for 2 years, and then I left, and I just got to a point where I was ready to move. I mean, I didn't want to be part of the TM culture. I didn't want to be part of that. I just kind of, I needed to get out on my own as a young man. I mean, I need to make my way in the world. I need to be able to be self-sufficient. I need to be able to make money. I need to be able to have a career. And so I left and, got on with my life. But I continued to do meditation, and I limped along with it. And I know that it was, it's kind of like I said, it's you get what you give. But at the same time, things prepare you for other things. And I really believe that the TM, Transcendental Meditation, helped prepare me for the heartfulness path. And I'm a little more standoffish with it than I would have been, I think, had I not done TM, because I definitely feel the positive effects of the heartfulness. I mean, and let me just say, what it's made me is it's made me more look at it more in terms of verification of that it actually works. And I can see in my life that I have verification that the heartfulness has helped me in ways that I did TM for, all those years since 1993. I did TM for all those years up until 2017. And I honestly didn't feel like I was advancing.